go. We are live. Welcome, everyone. I'm also just going to be on Facebook telling people that we're live because people need a lot of reminders about these things. You tell them a week out, and then you've got to give them that, 5-minute reminder, 3-second reminder as it goes. So, my name is Sarah Watt. Welcome. I'm joined by my very amazing friend, whom I also work closely with on a lot of different projects, the beautiful Kate Sarton. Welcome, my love.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Kate and I create on a bunch of different projects. We both work in different capacities with this amazing thing called Access Consciousness. And I think there's probably a lot of things that we have similar points of view, similar outlooks on when it comes to business and work. So I wanted to get you on this live and just ask you a little bit about what that is for you, because it's always, I remember from a very young age, business and work and that side of life was always very appealing to me. I was always like, I loved different jobs. I moved around a lot in my career. Even when I found Access, the first thing I loved about it was I was like, how do they run this business? I need to know more about the business side of this thing. So it's always been like this, like very sometimes secret obsession of mine about knowing more about business and learning more about business and basically just thinking about work a lot. But what is that for you? Like, what do you see? Like, so we called this live, what if work could be joyful and fun, which I know for a lot of people are like, are you insane? I go from 9 to 5. I look forward to my weekends and my downtime. So what is work for you? What is business for you? What is that in your world?
Yeah, I love this beginning so much, Sarah. It's funny. Like, I am what I would call a createaholic, where like I love
Mhm.
to create, and someone else might call me a workaholic. And when
Yep,
I look
cool.
back on all of the different jobs, careers, whatever that I've had, I've always just like dove in headfirst, whether it was like helping manage a coffee shop or running my massage practice or, on all of these creative teams that I'm on now. Um, there, there is so much joy for me in creation. And before it may have been more about problem solving. I'm like, okay, how do we, get to the target and do the thing? But now I actually know it's more about the creative process of like the creation within myself, but also co-creating with people. Um, but then there's also this piece I really loved, kind of like what you were speaking to. I really love to know the behind the scenes on things. I love to know how stuff works. So again, like whether it's like theater and like knowing everything that goes into creating that, or movies, or a business, I'm like, or science, I'm like, I want to know.
Yep.
And so I think those things combine in a really cool way. And then the game changer for me is actually about the joy and the fun. So, like,
Yep.
previous to that opening up in my world, I still had all of these capacities and interests, but maybe I didn't always have as much fun as I could be having. And so, what I have loved so much these past few years of like playing with access consciousness tools and playing on these teams where everybody's using the tools together is like, wow, even when interesting stuff comes up, how much fun, how much engagement can we be having with all of it?
I love that so much. And it's so funny because we've never had this conversation. Like, this is literally the first time we've really talked about this. And it's so cool because so much of what you're saying, I'm like, that's me, that's me. Like, sometimes when I've watched a movie, I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and watch the credits because I want to know, like, what different jobs do people have? How many people does it take to create this thing? And you're sitting there, like, watching the credits roll and all of these people that contribute to this movie happening. Hi, Rusty. Hey, guys. Hi, everyone that's joining online too. Welcome. Welcome to our little candid conversation about joy in business. Who would have thought? And you see all these job titles, and I'm always just like blown away by the amount of people that contribute to things. And we create a lot of events with Access Consciousness, and for me, it's the same sort of thing. Like, people see the finished product, but we get to see what goes on behind the scenes. And so I just wanted to say that so matches with me. And the same thing, I've always been what people would describe as like a workaholic, someone that's always busy, someone that's always got stuff on the go. But since having these tools and since working with Access specifically, it's almost like the more I have on, the easier it becomes in a way. Like, it becomes this thing where it's like everything I thought was business and work kind of flipped and it was like, you know, what if you found out everything you thought was true? What if you found out it was a lie? And business is so much like that for me. So, but you know, working a lot like we do, having so many things on the go, we obviously also have those days where, you know, shit comes up, right? Or we're working with people that we're like, why can't you just see what I see? Why can't you just like your control mechanism still kicks in, your like whatever that is, you still have those spaces. So can you talk a little bit about like how do you bring the joy back when the joy goes out the window and you're ready to like just get a little bit like killing energy? What do you do in those situations?
Yes. And this is awesome because this was me earlier today. Like,
Right.
no joke. This smile was not on my face earlier today. Um, and it wasn't really that there was any particular situation. It's not that there was any drama that was up or any like interpersonal things. The ride of consciousness is a rocket ship ride. And there are moments that are so glorious and expansive. And there are moments where you just see your shit in front of your face and you're like, oh, this is really uncomfortable and things are changing. And so that's kind of where I was at earlier today. And I was like, wow, okay, stuff is really uncomfortable. And how fitting that I'm supposed to go on and talk later about joy. But I like sat with it for a moment and got present because
Mm.
one of the coping mechanisms I really used to operate by was avoiding.
Yep.
Avoid it, don't look at it, it'll go away or something. And I was like, okay, I'm going to lean in and be present with this because if it isn't greater or bigger than me, it's just showing me something. And I was like, okay, cool. Now, what can I choose? Like what is in front of me right now to start to like break the solidity of this discomfort and what the fuck that is up right now?
Yep.
And the first thing that I chose was for my next couple of communications with people, I literally was just like, hey, heads up, I'm weird as fuck today. And
Cool.
I just led with that because
Yep.
I know that people are aware. And so I was like, if I come in and they're aware of an interesting energy, it's really easy for us to start to build stories about what that could be. So I was like,
Yep.
I'm just going to come in and I'm going to be vulnerable and be like, hey, just so you know, if you're aware of something, I'm just weird as fuck. And as soon as I said that in that vulnerability, it was like it started to dissolve because I wasn't making it significant or wasn't trying to hide it. And
Yep.
they were just like, okay, yeah, no big deal. Because they weren't making a big deal about it. And so it's like it started to lose its significance.
Yep.
And then I started asking questions of like, wow, what could this be right now that is uncomfortable and that I'm aware of? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I was just on an ESB class. Like, that's rippling through my, oh, thumbs up, guys.
Ah, I was wondering how that worked. If you put
That's
your thumb up,
amazing.
it does it. Ah, I've seen that happen on Zoom. I'm like, how did they do that?
I think what I heard is it has something to do with FaceTime. So I think if you
Oh.
have a phone or an Apple computer that have gone through the most recent update, then it's like,
Hmm.
I think I can do a peace sign. Is that right? Yeah. Then
Oh
like the
my god! I
the
love
heart, you can get some hearts. Yeah. It's like
it. Oh my god, now I'm distracted. I'm like,
I
how
know
many
it's
different
great.
things can we come up with?
Um, okay, so I was just on an ESB class, energetic
Yep.
synthesis of being class, which is always a rocket ship ride and is
Yep.
very undefined and intangible. Like
Yep.
every ESB class I've been on, I can't necessarily point to the things that are changing, but everything's changing.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, okay, this is in my world. I'm personally in a big transition in my life right now. I moved out of my house. I'm separating from my husband. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm looking at some classes that are coming up, and I was like having a tough time choosing if I was going or not going. And I'm like, oh, there's just a lot of stuff up in my world. I can just acknowledge that,
Yep.
and it all just changed. And I was like,
Amazing.
wow, so cool that the presence and the curiosity and the vulnerability
Yep.
allowed it to move. And that's just the example for today. I think the 5 elements of intimacy are probably some of the biggest game changers for me when I'm looking at something of like what else I could choose that could shift the energy that is up when the funk is up.
Yeah. Yeah. And from that as well, like to sort of address sort of three of the things I took away from that is being willing to address an energy. Like how often are we in work situations or family situations or relationship situations where both people know there's a funk. Like I like how you use that word because it's not really describable, but it's there. Like, and how often are we willing to just go, hey, are you feeling this weirdness right now? Like, do you perceive this as well? Like, is it just me or is it something for you too? And even if they're like, yeah, but I have no idea what it is, it's like, okay, so why don't we just acknowledge there's this weird energy in the room, in the air, on the meeting, whatever. And then from there, like have that as part of like whatever the conversation is that you're talking about. And also the other thing from what you said then was also to being willing to acknowledge just how aware we are. So, you know, there's so much that goes on in the world, right? So much. Every half a million for the second, there's a billion things going on at the world all at the same time. Like, how many of those things are you actually aware of? And how many, just through being aware of it, actually it comes through your, like, through your radar, through your perception, through whatever that is. And you don't really have much control over that. It's just something that, as the people we are, we just become aware of things. So also to just be willing to go, huh, maybe this funk isn't even mine. Maybe it's because on the other side of the world, this is going on. Or Dane just so happens to be facilitating an ESB class at the same time as Simone's doing an ABC class. Like there's also some quakes happening in the in that side of things as well. Yeah, like just to be willing, I think, also in business and in life, to address the energy as it is and really look at things for what they are and not really try to figure it out necessarily, but just to also be like, something's weird right now. You know, is there anything I can do about it? If not, I'm going to just be willing to be with it and move on. And those five elements of intimacy as well. The thing I took from that, what you were saying is how much it all comes back to you. Like we work in teams, we have families, we might have children, relationships. For me, it's my animals. But, you know, like these people and beings were around all day, every day. But the one thing you have control over, really the only thing you have control over is yourself and how you respond and react to a situation. So what if it was always coming back? And those five elements of intimacy you can explore. There's some great books in Access Consciousness that look at this. But the thing I love about Access so much is it all begins and ends with you. Like it's this place where you get to be the conductor of your life. You get to then, you know, influence that and be that part of whatever ever else is going on in the world and the people around you. But if you're willing to have that level of vulnerability and intimacy with yourself, then absolutely everything is possible. So that is very, very cool. And thank you everyone for joining once again. We've got to do a quick live here. I mean, I feel like now I wish I'd have made a bit more time for this and we could have stayed on and had a conversation for like 45 minutes, but maybe this is the beginning of something else as well. So sort of without wrapping it up, what is there like a tool or two you could give to people out there where, you know, they're kind of like, I have a job, but I'm also like not super happy, or how do I sort of integrate that into my life? Is there anything in particular that you would give people to take away with them from this Facebook Live?
Yeah, I love that. These are not necessarily like bona fide access tools. It's kind of like a Kate interpretation of how I play with other things. It's like
Cool.
offshoot. One is the acknowledgement that like none of it is actually separate. Your life
Yeah.
is your life. And so just like
Oh,
you said, it all
sorry, that's the one I was going to say, a variation of that. Anyway, you go, get it out of your brain, and then yeah.
just took it right out. It's that, like you said, it all begins and ends with you. And so, like, knowing that whether you're at work, whether you're home, whether you're hiking, whether you're cooking, like,
Right.
you are the catalyst and source of all of it. Because I think previous to me playing with tools, I was compartmentalizing more. Like, even though I'm a creative workaholic, there was still more of like a nose to the grindstone energy before. And then my fun time was outside of work. I didn't quite know how to acknowledge that I was the source and have it all be there like simultaneously.
Cool.
What goes hand in hand with you're the source and it's all a part of it is then also prioritizing joy is
Yep.
that used to be lower on my priority
Right.
list. What was higher on my priority list was, responsibility, doing a good job, being appropriate. Like there were like those kind of social expectations, but then also the survival expectations of like there's a certain amount of money and the things. And those took my first focus. And then there was like a trickle down. And then when I could like fit in just for me joy time, then I would fit that in. But now with none of it being separate and me
Yep.
being the source, it's like, okay, cool. Even in, if you're going on an interview, how much fun can you have with the interview? I was actually
Right.
working on a resume today, not because I'm looking for a job, but because I'm actually helping out in the US. Robert Kennedy Jr. is running for to be president. And so each
Yeah, go. I'm in Australia and I'm like so rooting for this guy. I'm like, geez, I wish I was some way I could contribute. Well, I'm contributing so much energetically, but man, oh man, I am really rooting for this guy to get in. Far out. What a different
totally
world. Sorry.
that
I just adore
enthusiasm.
him. I just think he's amazing. Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
amazing. That
Yeah.
enthusiasm, like amplification of that, whether someone
Yeah.
can actually vote or donate or whatever, like the amplification of broadcasting that I think is a
Right.
huge contribution to the planet.
Yeah.
Um, and so I live in the state of Maine, and I just got connected with the group here in Maine that is working
Yeah.
to get him on the ballot because there's all these specific things with politics, blah blah blah, in the states. And so I'm helping them now. And so for reference, they required a resume. I swear I'm bringing this back around. And that is as I was creating the resume, which can be like a very dull task, I was like, where is the creative energy? Where is the fun in this? And so like I found this beautiful template. It's like colorful and like organized. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to do this. And then as I was like going through my different skills and everything, I was like, what's the wording here that I can play with that like feels yummy? And like I literally made sure to put fun as like
Yeah.
part of what my thing was as I was listing stuff out. So it's like, even if something is mundane, what would you like to create with it? What can you be with it?
Yeah, I love this so much. And, kind of the other thing that sparked us getting on and doing this live was these amazing classes that Simone Miller facilitates called Business Done Different, which truly is a very different type of business class. And she has some coming up. We'll pop the link to find all of those wherever you're watching this live. And it's easy. It's SimoneMillicent.com/BDD, as in Business Done Different. And I actually have taken a lot from her as a person when it came to realizing how I actually like what my reality with business is and how I actually function with it rather than trying to replicate other people. And exactly like you said, always pleasing, always meeting deadlines, always making sure I'm doing the best possible job, which doesn't mean you don't do any of that, but you do it more from that space of it being from that start and finish point, which is you, right? So I just wanted to kind of say exactly what you said, but also put it in the wording of what Simone taught me very early on, which were two things. What if your life was your business and your business was your life? Which all of those things about you were saying about whether you're out hiking, whether you're in front of your computer, whether you're cooking a meal, it's like all of that is actually a contribution to everything, to each other, to your business, to your life, to your body, and all of that. And the other one, a lot of people are like, well, I don't have a business. They might be a mom, they might work for someone else, an employee. But the other thing she said as well is if you wake up in the morning and you have blood running through your veins, you're in business. And I was like, wow, what if I was truly like the CEO and the CFO of my life? Like my life was literally like, the biggest company in the world, and I got to be the one that controlled it, quote unquote, but controlled it from this space of possibilities and future and joy and all that sort of stuff. So what a world we live in, my friend. I am so grateful that we live on this planet at the same time, that I get to play with amazing people like you in the world, and especially in the businesses we create and the projects we create with Access Consciousness and beyond. So I want to thank you so much for your time being here. And maybe this is just a part one of something else for the future, because I feel like we just scratched the surface. And thank you everyone for watching. If you have questions about who we are, why we have so much joy in business, what the hell, please reach out to either one of us. You can post wherever you're seeing this video, send me a DM. I'm sure Kate would be happy with the same, because we're two people that seem very, very, very enthusiastic about a lot of things, but especially creating more joy and more fun with work and business in this world. So thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, everyone. See you guys on the next adventure. Have way too much fun. Whatever you're choosing, enjoy your choices.